Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you very much for those that are watching us, following us on Facebook. We love the addition of people that follow the show. As you know, I've said for a long time now, we try to make the best use of technology in this sense, social media. Of course, this is a podcast, but we want to be able to reach as many people as we can. We'll continue to do that. So thank you again for those following us on Facebook. We appreciate it very much. Do me a favor, follow along, pass it on to your friends, coworkers, family members. However, as much as we'd love to have you follow us on Facebook, continue to do that. Make sure you download the podcast, because that way you can listen to the show at your convenience when it works for you. You can find the podcast really anywhere by typing in Real Estate Radio Live, Google+, iTunes, Stitcher. You could go to our website, RERL-1549.Manie. That's RERL-1549.Manie. Most of you know that if you've been following the show now for almost 8 years, hard to believe, live radio and podcast, that my main objective and focus is always you'll hear me say this a lot, is to provide you with great guests like today. I'll introduce my guest in just a minute. Content information for what? For the reason to educate you, the consumer, to make you a more informed, educated consumer. And let me tell you, that's happening in a big way, and there's so many different ways in real estate and lending, as I mentioned. So that's what our plan, that's what our objectives. We'll continue to do that. So before I get started, if you need to reach me, during the week, it's the same place, RE Radio Live, or you can always email Joe at RERL-1549.Manie. All right, let me invite my guest in. Good to have him in. This is preempted, right?
Preempted.
We didn't have this planned at all. We wanted
we called
surprise. Manie Kohn, who is a real estate marketing expert, and much, much more. We're going to get in that. He's been on Bravo, many TV shows, written up in USA Today. I'll go on, and I'll let him give a little bit about the background. That's just a bit. Good to have you here, Manie, and I'm excited about the show. You and I have... It was about 3 years ago we met, and with the whole $1 Million Listing crew. That's right.
We did. And
a lot of fun. So good to have Manie on. And what we'll do first is, if I could have you, Manie, give the audience a little bit about your background, your area of expertise, and bring us up to date with that, some of the stuff you're working on, and then we'll jump into our conversation.
100%. Yeah, you bet. So I think I'll preface this kind of intro that those of you in dual audiences, whether you're a home seller, listen with that hat on. If you're a lender or broker or realtor, you may consider listening with that hat on. But in all cases, I'm here to add value. So my humble beginnings started in Palo Alto, which, as many of you know, is somewhat of the Bermuda Triangle of real estate. Nothing makes sense there, but it's the perfect place to launch something somewhat disruptive and to add a little more value and put pressure on the industry to generate some revenue. And that's exactly what happened. So I ended up having worked for the very MLS as a DRE certified trainer, technology trainer, and best practices trainer. After basically training over 20,000 agents from San Mateo to Monterey, I caught the attention of an up-and-coming agent at Coldwell Banker in Palo Alto that was virtually unknown. And we will just accelerate this conversation and say he's the most known. Not only were we went from zero to hero, if you will. Yeah. We just leveraged a ton of technologies, just smart marketing, smart business.
You're a guy. You guys are way ahead of your times. Let's put it that way.
It really was.
Yeah.
And basically leveraging technology to bring value to help realtors win listings,
right.
And then simultaneously. Sure, there was media attention that caught the eyes and ears of Bravo TV and USA Today and NBC, both locally and nationally. But the bottom line is that all roads lead to adding value to both home sellers and realtors.
Right.
Realtors to win listings, and then home sellers are gaining more momentum in knowing that a now known quantity exists, basically to help them and their realtor outperform traditional real estate in any given market. It seems to be catching on, and it seems our at-bats we're doing pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, welcome in. And just to summarize, too, what's exciting about this, having Manie on today is, and those that follow this show, and you know me, I love disruption, I love change, and and you might say, Joe, you're kind of old for that. No, not really. I like it. So here's the deal. Manie's doing something very unique. We're going to dive into that. We're going to go deep. We're going to talk about that. It's a lot of fun. So again, as he mentioned, if you're a home seller, potentially thinking about selling your home, or this is something you really need to pay attention to listening to, because this is a very unique program that is not being offered anywhere else. I could tell you that for sure. And you know me, I cover this area pretty extensively. Secondly, as he mentioned, those in the industry, real estate agents, if you're concerned about the competitive nature of the market, it's always competitive, I realize that, but it's going to get even more competitive. There's pricing pressure everywhere, and it's not going to change. You hear me talk about that all the time. So how do you balance that? How do you then win these listings, and how do you take the client, completely away, in some cases, price, which price is still important, let's face it. People aren't stupid, they're educated here, but when you start really leveraging value and education and information, and you pull someone's attention from that, that's very powerful, isn't it?
100%. Yeah.
So let's talk first a little bit about the consumer. Manie, you have a unique program again. So probably the best thing to do is tell us about this program. And again, for the consumer, this is directly for the consumer if you're listening. What part of a program do you offer alongside of realtors, and actually independently? Maybe talk a little bit about that. That's very unique, and you're having a tremendous amount of success with.
Yeah, and please understand, while I'm somewhat misunderstood with a lot of ego sometimes, a lot of bravado, I'm also pulling from the other end that you would uncharacteristically not expect a level of humility and generosity. So, depending on the soundbite you guys choose to pull, you can put me in whatever box, but I know my intent. And home sellers seem to be resonating with the good place that I'm coming from. So by design, I don't have my real estate license, even though I've been encouraged to get it, take all my toys and strategies, and basically build my own. I felt like I could add more value to both home sellers and realtors by not getting my license. And that's a patience play.
So in essence, you're not competing. You're actually working as a team.
I would rather complement the good things that realtors are doing for home sellers than compete against them. Right? And that seems to be resonating with both markets. But for home sellers out there, the thesis may be this. Home sellers always knew that you guys could pick whatever realtor you wanted. How you find those realtors, I would argue you're somewhat limited, right? You either are looking on Yelp, or you're talking to Aunt Jenny, who did a real estate transaction with someone down the street. You're looking at how many signs are in the neighborhood, right? But it's very limited. What other resource do you have other than what the realtor is telling you about themselves? Where's the third-party independent? Where's that baseball card that shows you at a glance how many at-bats they've had? What's their stats? The data is unemotional, and I love that. And yet that's one thing that is so valuable and yet is so glaringly omitted from the entire real estate industry, whether realtors are threatened by that or they just don't want that level of disclosure. Home sellers seem to be resonating with just the information, especially in a Silicon Valley marketplace where we're dealing with the best and brightest, smartest sellers on the planet. They want data. And so one of the first things that I provide, having worked for the very MLS that these listings are on, is what is their batting average? What does a realtor do? What is their sale over list average? If they're representing a buyer, what's their negotiating skills in terms of how they negotiated well to help that buyer get less than whatever the price was?
To give this some perspective, too, and to validate what you're saying, and I love it, is that it's something like this, and you're going to know it better than me, but I think it's roughly less than 10% of the agents do 90% of the business, roughly. In other words, so that right there, that data, and we all love data, you and I too.
Sure.
That tells us something, right? What does that tell us, Manie?
Well, here's the dirty little secret. We may have several dirty little secrets along these lines for both home sellers and realtors to your benefit. And one of those things is for a home seller audience is, and you're being generous that 10%.
I think so. I think it's more like 7 or 8.
10% of any brokerage are actual, what I call producing agents, contributing agents. But the brokerage model is set up for, regardless if an agent is producing or not, the brokerage model is, sure, they make more money when an agent produces and generates a commission because the house always gets their cut.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. But what about the other, let's say, 80, 90% of agents that are paying a monthly desk fee, paying all those monthly fees, the
MLS
association fees,
yep.
you name it.
Right.
They're paying a monthly to play this game in real estate. Someone is making a profit here. And so let it be known that brokerage models, why I'm sure their intent is coming from the best place, let's be generous, they're in business to make money. They're not running a summer camp, they're running a business. And so they're making money off those 90% of other agents that are not contributing to the listings. Maybe they're content with selling 1 or 2 homes a year, right? So that's where one of the models in terms of real estate is broken, right? I think home sellers know that instinctively. I think home sellers know that while realtors, and forgive me, I know this may sound somewhat controversial and put pressure on realtors, but again, I'm coming from a good place and I want you to win. I think as we enter a 2018 marketplace, especially in Silicon Valley, where we're dealing with where technology is really changing things regardless of how we feel about technology, it's coming. And it's changing it, and it's putting pressure to disenfranchise us. So my encouragement to realtors is step up your game. Don't do what every other realtor is doing. Don't do what you did 10 years ago and think that's going to help you compete in the 2018-19 marketplace, right? And so leverage the technologies that are available to you to actually add more value to the very home sellers and investors that you're trying to get that business from and win. That's exactly what the greatest success stories of realtors that you know that don't want you to know that they have engaged me secretly to help them with these types of strategies. They don't want you to know that, but that's exactly the thesis.
Well, you know, we hear this over and over again. It's true. I mean, I grew up playing baseball. That was my dream to be, and I've made it in the minor leagues for a while, so I got a little taste of it. But my point is that some of the best athletes, business people, I don't care, on and on, all have coaches, all get consulting, all get advice. All have therapists from time to time.
100%. Yep. Right?
Right? So, in essence, talk about then the service of why I think it's a wonderful compliment for realtors.
Got it. Okay, so yes, what is the service? Well, it's a bit of a Swiss Army blade knife. One of the greatest things that most realtors are unaware of is that I have for the last decade been secretly and quietly engaged by top realtors to attend listing presentations with them as a member of their marketing team because of the influence and how I contribute to basically getting a signed listing agreement. I don't come in hot and I don't sell. But I didn't expect this to work. But when it did, it started catching on. Right? If we're generating revenue, which is the bottom line, if it can happen once, I got to tell you, Joe, I'm blinded. If something can happen one time, I am blinded that it can happen 1,000 times after that. And that's my dysfunction. I'm either enthusiastic or I'm delusional, one of the two. But I've generated over $6 million additional dollars in GCI over the last 18 months alone. Not over the last 5 years, just 18 months. And so I'm bringing some real value. So realtors are bringing me in to secretly be a member of their team, present in front of the home seller or investor, share with them not marketing, but marketing execution. And I think that's the thing, that's the greatest takeaway I'd want people to understand. I'm not talking about pretty pictures and video. I ran a very successful virtual tour company, the most profitable in Silicon Valley, before the tour factories and the blue sky medias and the OBOs of the world really came into play. But what they did was commoditize the market and just provide a transactional type of thing. Here's your media realtor. It's up to you to distribute it. And hopefully, you know, it's not our job to help the seller. It's our job to help you. I was providing more value because the seller knew that having worked for the very MLS that their listing was going to be on, that I had a unique perspective that could really execute at a different level that most realtors and no virtual tour companies were doing. So the bottom line is it made the seller or investor feel as if in their hiring decision of a realtor, not only did they get a great realtor, but they also had the assurance that no stone was being left unturned in finding a buyer for their home. And the analytics bared all that out. And so it was, even if the home didn't sell, let's take the worst case scenario, Let's say the home didn't sell. The seller or investor had the assurance that was it the market or was it the marketing? And this is where people don't like me very much because I put pressure, almost like a tax audit, which is wildly uncomfortable. I can't speak from personal experience. I just heard that it is. Most home sellers, if we're speaking to a home seller audience and savvy realtors that are going to leverage this opportunity, is most home sellers, they listen to their realtor, and that's really the only source of information they have. So home sellers, basically, if their home doesn't sell, typically What happens is the realtor says, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Home Seller. I'm so sorry.
Right.
The market is speaking. The market is speaking. Let's talk about a price reduction.
Right.
And let's take $100,000 or $200,000 and lower the price, and then we'll re-jump this thing. We'll get the jumper cables out. We'll lower it. We'll get a fresh group of buyers to buy this thing because it's the price.
Right.
And where I come in, unfortunately, because I've seen what happens under the hood, realtors make mistakes, Joe, every day, 100 times a day, that may or may not contribute to a lower sales price or the home not selling at all. And so by me being able to shore that up and help the realtor execute at a level that's transparent and makes the seller feel like, you know what, even if my home doesn't sell, I'm going to renew my contract with the realtor because I know quantifiably it wasn't an issue of the marketing. We had the best marketing. The analytics bared that out. It's an issue of the market. Now we really do know that it was an issue of price.
Right.
We've identified that. Where in a market where most realtors, that's their knee-jerk reaction, and there's no pressure to audit the marketing execution. And I think that's just what's resonating with a smart seller base.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. It's just that transparency layer educates the seller to make their own decisions. Do I want to do a price reduction?
Right.
Let's really work with the realtor, not against them, but with them to identify how we can bring our A game or course correct this marketing campaign.
This is good stuff. And let me just remind the listeners, home sellers, and I've done shows on this before, and it's resonating as Manie's talking about this, and I've given examples. You know, you have a realtor, and this is, again, not to pick on realtors because lenders could be the same. We're talking about this and the program and the expertise that Manie provides as a partnership through the sellers on the listing side. So, you know, I gave examples of a realtor coming in, showing you a bunch of fancy, glossy marketing material and saying, look at all this. I work for one of the biggest companies in the country. They help market. I could put you on the MLS. And it's very generic in nature, but they show you all this fun, fancy stuff, drone video and all that, right? Now, put yourself in a position when Manie and a realtor comes in and they sit down, they not only have nice marketing material, but they drill down deep on statistics and data and say, listen, and I'll give an example. This is just an example. Listen, this agent I'm sitting with today has got an average of 16% over asking for the last 18 months in these 3 zip codes. And by the way, one of these zip codes is the one we're talking about today. So this is the kind of stuff, right? You guys go real deep. This is why. This is what we do. And so tell me if I'm wrong or give me some examples of some of the...
I love that you're bringing some real specificity to this.
Right.
So look, we want realtors to win, but if we are being honest and we are going to camp out on the very attribute that the entire real estate is founded on, which is what? Code of ethics? All right, kids, let's really camp out on that. Then let's get ethical and take a very granular look. So, example. I just closed, I'm not a realtor and I'm using realtor speak, I just closed, I wasn't the listing agent, but a home seller heard from a Los Altos Hills home seller of the value that I bring to their real estate transaction. And is this appropriate to talk about this as an example? So
examples are good.
So home sellers just in Palo Alto, this happened literally last week, we closed. Home seller engaged me to do something that is somewhat unprecedented and somewhat controversial in the industry. The home seller trusted me enough to pre-screen realtors on their behalf. Now, they have every opportunity to look in the paper and see who's the biggest, realtors and the top producers that can afford those ads and look at the same signs and look on Yelp and talk to Aunt Jenny, like I like to say. But they knew that I would bring a little more context to that. So the home sellers asked me to pre-screen these realtors to supplement the realtors that they had already intended to interview. The way I did that was I screened about 7 different realtors that I felt would be a good fit. Along the way, I gave them a valuation exercise.
Great.
And an example of that was, hey, just very simple. It's the same question that any seller would ask of any realtor. What do you think my property is worth? And how did you come up with that price? Tell me how you got there. Now, here's what you and I both know. Brokerages have a button that an office assistant can hit that spits out comps and bada bing, bada boom, you got something. That's not going to trick me, and it's my job to educate already very educated home sellers, and that's the value I bring. It comes from a very truth-based, no excuses kind of place. So I pre-screened home sellers. They picked, lo and behold, one that I brought to the table. I helped the realtor execute. we came up with a very different type of approach to the property, not just square foot, price per square foot, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2 cottages. What can we do differently and present this property, even though it's fairly common? How can we take an uncommon approach in the marketing as we present this to the marketplace? Sellers were thrilled. Realtor was kind of blown away, and it was a very collaborative effort. I had realtors suggesting you should list your home at 2.495, and I had other ones that were wildly enthusiastic that said you should list at 3.995 and let's see what happens. You guys know you're either one of them or you're competing against realtors that have said those same things, and we weren't going to be tricked by a realtor claiming that they could get any price, because the sellers trusted me enough to know that no realtor controls the price of any real estate in the market anywhere.
Very good point.
So we weren't seduced by that. But the bottom line is, after all the execution was said and done, including me being asked and invited to the negotiating table, even the offer presentations as they were coming in, the sellers thought that I might, just might, be able to add some value, again, complementing the good things that the realtor was already doing. We increased that even more. And the bottom line is while I won't disclose the price, it is one of the largest, if not the largest, sale over list in Palo Alto. Literally just 6 days ago we closed. We outperformed the high end of the market by an additional $250,000.
Wow. Outstanding.
And look, is it the market or is it the marketing? Whether it's an additional $250,000, or how about this? How about more modest home sellers that this is all they've got? This is the one and only transaction. What if it's only $45,000 higher than they could have got? That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
And I think it's up to the realtor to provide that kind of acumen and help them.
It is for sure.
Yeah.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We are rolling along, having a great time. Manie Kohn's here with us in studio. Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We're going to take a quick break like we always do for the podcast, but it's just a minute. For those that are watching us on Facebook, stick with us. We hope not to say anything stupid during that quick break, but in the meantime, we're going to come back with you. But also, as I'm thinking about it, Manie, if there's someone out there, whether it's a consumer, real estate agent, wants to know about your services, your support, what's the best place to reach you?
Best place is where my work is 100% well documented. It is on my Facebook business page at winthatlisting.com. Win that listing.
Very good. Very good. All right, again, this is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break. We'll be back with you in just a second. Thanks.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Getting ready to buy or sell a home in 30, 60, or 90 days? Check out bundleselect.com to find out how you could save 20% or more on your entire transaction, real estate, lending, and title. With bundleselect.com, technology and a personal concierge are at your service to save you time and money. Bundle Select's hand-picked team of experts will compete for your business, so you'll save thousands of dollars by bundling real estate, lending, and title services. bundleselect.com gives you all the control, including using your own realtor. I'm Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, and I have been on the radio educating consumers for years. I'm here to tell you bundleselect.com is the best way to save money on real estate. By bundling services, you could save tens of thousands of dollars. This savings model could save you money on your move, lower your interest rate, or cover your closing costs. Visit bundleselect.com. That's bundleselect.com.
The estimated minimum savings are based on a comparison with the national average. Individual results may vary, and the estimated savings are not guaranteed. Bundle Select Inc. is a licensed real estate broker. California Bureau of Real Estate Broker license number 004666902.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. Joe Kuchera at Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you again for those that are following us on Facebook. I appreciate it. I know your time is valuable. The fact that you log on and listen to us every once in a while, from time to time, today, doesn't matter. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And continue to download the podcast. We'd love to have you do that. And tell us what you think. We also love the feedback. I work really hard to have great guests like today, good content, information. It doesn't matter, and the objective is always the same. How can we deliver more value to you today? We don't just want to spill out reports. We don't just want to talk about, it was really sunny today and the market was strong. We want to give you specific data, 'cause similar to the program we're talking about, how Manie, right? I mean, you take the relationships to a new level, both with the listing consumers, and the listing agents in this case, and you've gotten really good at it. And the value proves out the proof of the results, because that's what it's all about.
Results driven.
It's results driven.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, you were one of the early adapters with Facebook. You embraced it, jumped in, how to use it, how to leverage it, how to communicate with it, your business, real estate, what you do. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, from maybe the consumers and realtors. I mean, how do you use Facebook? Because a lot of people still struggle with it, scratch their head going. Matter of fact, there's a lot of people saying, I throw something up there because I know I have to, but I don't know how in the world to quantify anything on it. And so tell us a little bit about your journey, how you were getting success with it, and what consumers should know. And then also, this is just another thing for real estate agents to understand when they work with you and partner with you, if you will, the types of things you could coach them through.
Yeah, 100%. I'm pleased to do that. I've been a real estate technologist for over a decade. And that just, I'm not a very good businessman by pedigree. I have no business pedigree. I have no higher learning, and yet here I am operating somewhat successfully in the intelligentsia of the Bay Area. But really what I am, Joe, is a creative that's found a way to leverage all the emerging technologies to add value to real estate listing agents as well as the investors and the home sellers, just leveraging it quickly. And so one of those things, whether it had been websites, domain names like 123mainstreet.com, I'm pleased to have been pioneering that stuff, which is now ubiquitous. Like, wow, who was the first person to do that? Well, we can talk about that another time. It may or may not have been me, but I love being able to leverage existing technologies. And now in a 2018 marketplace, what is that? Social media. Now, here's the problem I have. I get a little passionate about this because what I hate to see is I have a lot of empathy for realtors. You guys are getting hit every day, 10 times a day by emails, by offerings from self-appointed Facebook marketing experts.
Right.
And I see these guys, they're, realtors are spending money on a subscription basis, populating their business Facebook page with fluff content that looks like everyone else's fluff content. I was always wanting to know, how could we bring awareness leveraging the Facebook platform to a specific listing, especially in this area where the sales cycle is not like it is in Alabama or Fresno or somewhere else. Things move awfully quick here, even in a softening market.
It's very true.
How can we leverage somewhat organic Facebook to help bring more value to the listing agent, bring more awareness to the listing, to the home seller, and somewhat incentivize the market to bid top dollar for their home because they see this all over the place on social media, which translates to more traffic at open houses, robust broker tours, more disclosure packets out. It's a perception that, wow, there's a lot of awareness on this property with the analytics to back it up. So to answer your question about the Facebook thing is, I have painstakingly swung and missed, swung and missed, swung and missed again. They say that Edison found 99 ways to not invent the light bulb, right? That's kind of my journey about Facebook. I took about 99 costly ways to not execute using Facebook and finally dialed something in that started working. So what I'm doing and what I'm offering realtors and home sellers that want to leverage also those social media platforms is, while I can't give away the Colonel's secret 11 herbs and spices, what I'm doing is I am leveraging Facebook in a way that most realtors simply don't understand. Boost Post is not a marketing strategy in Silicon Valley real estate. And let me tell you, if that is your strategy and another listing agent brings me in to compete against you, it's a wrap. You're dead. You're gone. Whether the home seller understands it or not, they want the assurance that we are leveraging every platform available to net that seller more.
Got it.
And so I finally dialed it in. I did it once. I didn't want to pat myself on the back too much, even though we outperformed MLS syndication. We outperformed the market. That was great. So I did it again. And it worked. And I did it again. And bottom line, as I sit here now, I've done it 9 times over my last 9 listings, just adding the Facebook component to it, and it's crushing. I love it. The data is basically showing that we are bringing anywhere from 40 to 80% more verified, qualified web traffic specifically to the property website, driving more incentive, driving more. And look, let's say no one, let's be honest here, let's say no buyer has yet come from my Facebook efforts, or anyone else's, by the way, and said, I saw your listing on Facebook, my agent didn't contact me, I solely saw this on Facebook, I want to write an offer. That has yet to happen, and I can't wait for those days to happen.
Yeah.
What has it done? Couple things. Number one, it has helped the agent win the listing.
Yeah, right.
Because they're demonstrating to a home seller marketplace, I am leveraging 2018 technologies in a way that not even top producers in your local neighborhood understand.
No, that's a great point. Right. And so tell the consumers real quickly, because I want to hit on this while you're talking about it.
Sure.
Because what you'll get, a lot of response from realtors when the consumers say, how are you going to market my house? MLS. And if they ask about social media, I've heard, I've been part of these conversations over here. Oh, that's overdone. Social media is not a big deal. People of your age don't have to worry about it. And so what would you say to consumers listening to this and someone's just, a realtor is saying, you don't need social media?
You don't need social media. If you're in Fresno, arguably, maybe not, even though it's 2018. Look, if you're selling real estate in Silicon Valley, in this area, the epicenter of innovation, where everyone is leveraging even social media platforms to create greater awareness, how can you be a realtor practicing Silicon Valley real estate without leveraging Silicon Valley technologies?
100%.
And if you're a consumer, look, you're going to pay Realtor A or Realtor B the same 2.5%, 3%, for example. Why not pick the one? You're going to pay them the same. Why wouldn't you put your very best foot forward if you're paying them the exact same amount of money? Pick the one that's burning more calories, the one that's doing smarter marketing execution, just in the event that you might net 40, 50, 2%, 5%, 17% more than what traditional agents are doing. Maybe that's a contributor. You're paying everybody the same amount. You might as well choose the one that's going to burn more calories and invest more money on your marketing effort.
Yeah, no, that's great. The use of technology, social media. What about some of the startup companies? And I've had shows on this, and I go from both spectrums. You have the open doors that are taking the human component completely out. What I mean by that is they're saying, don't bother with the realtor or the lender. We're just going to pay cash for your house, and we're going to do this. I guess I don't need you to answer specifically on there's several different models that are out there.
Yeah.
But in general, do you, as the consumers listening to the show and the real estate industry, how do you see that playing a part? I mean, social media we know, but the actual use of technology for the better to the consumer, do you think that's going to take a while to evolve? How do you see some of the technology playing a bigger part in these transactions, if any, soon?
Sure. A lot of agencies are trying to disenfranchise the realtor.
Right.
And I know it's somewhat threatened. I was around during the Zillow age. When Zillow was introduced, I was in Palo Alto helping build the very first Keller Williams office on the peninsula. Before Keller Williams was even known, it was Keller what? Keller who? And it was at that time that Zillow was introduced, and all the realtors went nuts. They went bananas. And understandably so, because they thought that now their role was horribly diminished.
Right.
But again, change is not always well taken, but the market corrected itself. They understood that the realtors still played a role regardless of this technology advantage. It's the same thing today, Joe. Now look, those that are not leveraging a component of technology,
I would agree.
They're going to lose, period. I mean, I give them 18 to 36 months before they are out of business, 100%. That's just the way it is.
Right.
But disenfranchised completely? Not yet. I think it's very premature. So the realies, REALIs, the open doors that are trying to disenfranchise the agent, those days are very premature. What is not premature is the competitive nature of those realtors that are leveraging today's technologies are winning more, selling more, winning more listings.
I mean, similar to our business, the lending business, I remember when e-loan came out, the whole mortgage industry goes, are you kidding me? So no longer will people be talking to a person face-to-face or using human interaction?
The robots are going to kill us. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be a day where we're all wearing contact lenses and living in an AR, VR reality world. But until then, the human touch of this whole thing, those who leverage the technology, the best of both worlds, those are going to be the agents that are still going to be here in 36 months.
Tell us, with a couple minutes we have left, 4 or 5 or so, to the consumers, again, this message to the consumer, Manie, tell the consumer or explain to them, what are the important components to look for? I mean, you talked a little bit about the real estate agent, what to look for, make sure they're professional, make sure they're, they're armed with everything they can to make the best chance to succeed.
Yeah.
The other components, that lending, financing. Talk a little bit about the importance of working with the right team, if you will, in preparation for, and even on the listing side, in general, let's talk a little bit about the buyers, I guess, is what I'm saying. Anything change in that way? Most of us know that these buyers have been beat up the last 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Tough market.
It's rough.
And I've been pounding the desk the last couple of months going, buyers, get out there because there's this little window of opportunity. I'm not sure it's going to last. But this is the first time I've seen in 3 years that buyers actually have some options.
Yeah.
They're taking contingent offers. There's weird things that are happening that haven't been happening.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that and the importance of working with the right lender, maybe making sure that, again, you're working with a professional person or a team that's going to be able to execute?
Yeah. My experience, while more on the listing side, I definitely have some insight into the buyer side. And that's been somewhat unique. The wins that I've seen on the buyer side along with the lender is it's not always about all cash offers.
Right.
I think there's a real soul-crushing feeling out there amongst a lot of buyers going, how am I supposed to compete against 14, 26 offers, foreign investment coming in? How do I compete against that? But I've seen wins that are happening here, even in this marketplace, because of the smart execution that the buyer and the lenders are bringing to the table. It's not always about all cash. Sometimes it's about the terms and conditions. And one of the greatest things I've seen is that as buyers are competing for listings, the lender is now in a position, and I've heard that this is something that you're considering leveraging as well, is being able to do, for lack of a better word, a background check that you think would be done by the listing agent, or in order to not just, having an underwriter write something up that says you pre-qualify and all that good stuff, that's kind of ubiquitous. Everyone seems to be doing
Anybody
that, writing a letter
and
appealing to the emotional appeal to the sellers. Does that work occasionally? Sure. Although I've heard that is also opportunistic, that's not always authentic. Or, that's also, they're pulling on the heartstrings and they tear the whole thing down. I loved your architecture, and then they were just a builder wanting to build on that. But my point is, I think the smarter lenders and buyer agents are really adding more value by helping the listing agents do something that they hadn't anticipated. They're basically helping the listing agent have a greater awareness of why their client's offer might be more advantageous than what's on this piece of paper, rather than just we can afford this, they've been pre-qualified for $4 million or whatever it might be. They're just getting smarter. And part of that is just simply doing a little bit more due diligence, not crossing your fingers and wishing for us to compete and get chosen. People, smart lenders and buyer agents are helping the listing agents bring greater awareness to help basically land the plane. That you guys are going to not necessarily have the best offer, but you're still going to win because you're going to help this transaction actually close.
Well said. And I think that, would you agree that having a strategy as a buyer's agent and a lender is going to have more value today than it would a year or so ago, right? Because, again, the market's changing a little bit.
Sure. You say a year ago. I'll go micro on you. How about 3
months
3
ago?
Weeks ago, maybe? If it's Palo Alto, things move off quick.
Palo Alto,
but let's say 3 months. I would even argue 3 months ago. And while I'm not Nostradamus and I have, I experience in my little microcosm of what's going on here, but I sense and what I hear from my clients and other investors, I think it's that boom-bust thing. We're starting to see the market soften. And so, I think buyers are more in an advantageous position, or going to be positioned to compete in these offers as listings that typically sold in 6 days, in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, they're sitting for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They're experiencing price reductions. I think we're starting to see that. So buyer and buyer agents and smart lenders who are bringing value to that market, they're going to be better positioned now than years past to help address that marketplace.
All right. A minute or so to wrap up. How do you put a bow on this? I mean, this is a great show. I'm going to have you on a more regular basis. This is a lot of fun. Plus, again, what I love about what Manie's talking about today and what the message is today, and I just want to, not to repeat it, but I guess I am going to repeat it because it's valuable, and to me, and I think it is to people listening, that these are real valuable tips and educational information that you, the consumer, could take back to your family, your spouse, your partner, your friend, whatever, and say, gee, I didn't know this. I didn't know a program like that existed. I had no idea that I could hire someone like Manie and they could partner with our realtor. I didn't have any idea that some of this stuff exists, and what are the things that I could ask and expect of a realtor. I mean, these are all things to me, one of the things I love about doing this show is that I learn all the time myself. So I want to try to pass that along. So as we wrap up today, how do you put a bow on this thing and let everybody know that...
You bet. You bet. I mean, there's so much, the Swiss Army blade, so let me oversimplify this. If you're a realtor or a broker, you can engage me to basically help attend your listing presentation if you're competing for a listing, bring greater awareness to it, help you win it, help you market it in a way that's going to help you win your next one with an over 90% success rate in me helping the agent win the listing. In addition to that, maybe you don't have the scratch, maybe you don't have the capital or the revenue to compete against top producing agents. You wish you could, and if you closed escrow, you'd have those monies and you do it. I actually put myself in a very unique situation where I pay out of my own pocket. I front those monies for agents that can't afford that up front, and that puts us all in a position where we're actually competing against those guys that have deep pockets. But if you're a home seller, and I think this is even more important, adding value even to the realtor, if you're a home seller, you always knew that you could choose whomever realtor you wanted. But what you never knew is that you had an additional resource that could help you pick possibly a better class of realtor, market your home better than any other top producing agent in the neighborhood, net possibly more, at zero cost to you as the home seller. That is unfamiliar. It's unconventional. It's somewhat disruptive. And the more people that know about it, I think it's a win-win for everyone. As we put pressure, good meaning pressure, tough love pressure on realtors that might not want it, but they'll benefit from it. Just swallow that pill. I think everyone will benefit from that.
Hey, let's face it, in the spirit of education and information, which I'm a big fan, and I know you are too, the bottom line is this, and I say it all the time, we can't hide from the more educated and informed consumer. And I say it all the time, you could stick your head in the sand, you could think it doesn't exist. Ladies and gentlemen, people are getting smarter and smarter every day, which means they want things quicker, faster, more cost-effective. I could go on, right? And it's true. So as we wrap up the show today, I mean, that's my message, is that this is just another program to help you, the consumer, gain more information and education about your next transaction. Thanks again for tuning in. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Until next time, take care and have a great afternoon.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.